Discover the incredible moment when a maid's life-changing words silenced a millionaire forever. The sun shone brightly over Maplewood, its golden rays illuminating the annual community fundraiser, where laughter and chatter filled the air like the mouth-watering scent of grilled burgers. Amidst the clinking of glasses and vibrant decorations, the townsfolk buzzed with energy, yet one voice remained unheard. Sarah, the town's maid, her life woven into the fabric of service and sacrifice. Little did the citizens know her heart held a powerful truth waiting to be unleashed. Sarah stood behind the microphone, her palms clammy. Fishermen may have cast their nets for fish, but here she was hoping to catch their attention and perhaps their empathy. In her 30s, she balanced a demanding job cleaning the lavish Harrington estate with caring for her ailing mother. As children giggled and couples embraced, her thoughts drifted to her mom, curled up in bed, battling illness with a weary smile. In moments like these, Sarah felt invisible, trapped within her world while the affluent families around her indulged in wealth and connection. Across the park, Kyle Harrington zoomed past in a gleaming sports car. Recent college grad, he navigated life with an air of entitlement, completely unaware of the struggles around him. For him, the world was a smorgasbord, his accomplishments sweetened by privilege. But as Sarah cleared her throat, a palpable tension charged the air and sent shockwaves of anticipation coursing through the crowd. Everyone turned towards her. "Good evening, Maplewood." Sarah's voice trembled but held steadfast. "I stand before you not just as a maid, but as a daughter." The remarks of the wealthy floated through her mind, slicing into her heart with sharp disappointment. There was no rehearsing her truth, she realized. This was the moment. While I work to keep the Harringtons' home cozy and clean, I also care for my mother whose illness we all fight valiantly together. Every day is a battle, a constant struggle, she continued, feeling the weight of every word as they fell into place. Silence washed over the crowd, eyes widening with the gravity of her confession. Her tired heart poured out every sacrifice, every sleepless night spent in shared worry. Kyle's cocky grin faltered, and for the first time, he saw the world through another's eyes. That moment flickered like a lightning bolt amidst the soft glow of community spirit, striking at the core of everyone present. The tension ratcheted up. The expectation was thick. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The sizzling burgers slowly became background noise, as Sarah's powerful words hung between them, challenging the facade of wealth and status. She had opened a door to her world of struggle, and behind that door lay a raw, undeniable strength. Later, as Kyle approached her, uncomfortable and awkward, his apology felt insipid. Words meant to soothe seemed shallow and rehearsed. Sarah's indignation surged like a tempest. "You don't get it," she cried, her voice raw, passion steaming the air. "This isn't some neat little story, this is my life." And with that, the small-town park erupted into chaos of whispers and gasps, the crowd straining to witness the clash. The air was thick with curiosity and apprehension, ensnaring the community in this unexpected confrontation between privilege and resolve. Would Kyle understand the raging tide of humility and pride in Sarah's heart? Or would he retreat back into his lavish life? As the tension reached a boiling point, a sudden cry split the air. It echoed through the crowd, diverting attention away from Sarah and Kyle, leaving their fates suspended in uncertainty. The weight of their clash still hung heavily, leaving everyone breathless and teetering on the edge of change. The cry pierced through the tension, reverberating like a thunderclap. Eyes shifted from Sarah and Kyle to a small commotion near the fundraiser's central pavilion. A young girl, no older than 8, was on the ground, her face streaked with tears. Her hand clutched at her ankle, the unmistakable sign of injury that drew a wave of concern from the crowd. Kyle froze, his expression changing from discomfort to alarm. He quickly diverted his attention, rushing toward the girl. "What happened?" he asked, kneeling beside her, his bravado crumbling like a house of cards. Sarah watched them, her heart pounding in her chest. Stripped of the emotional confrontation, the reality of vulnerability settled back around her like a cloak. It reminded her that amidst personal struggles, life always found a way to throw curveballs. She couldn't ignore the urgency swelling within her, the desire to help pressing against her heartbeat as Kyle gently lifted the girl into his arms. She clung to him, sobbing. "I was playing and I fell," she managed between hiccuped breaths. Passers-by gathered, drawn by the scene, their eyes flickering from Kyle's concern to Sarah's pained expression. "Let me take a look." Sarah's voice broke through the crowd. She approached the girl, kneeling beside Kyle. Concern for the girl's well-being eclipsed her previous fears. "Hold still, sweetie," Sarah said, her tone softening as she reached for the ankle. It wasn't a dramatic injury, just a bruising moment in a day filled with uncertainty. Kyle nodded at her. "You're good at this," he murmured, momentarily forgetting the tension of moments before. The guilt and shame from their earlier confrontation softened as they both focused on the girl. "Just a little ice and some rest, and you'll be okay," Sarah reassured her gently, seeing the panic slowly dissipate from the girl's eyes. She glanced up, catching Kyle's gaze. They shared a fleeting moment, two souls slightly unshackled from their roles in life, united for a brief instance in care. The crowd began to disperse a little, murmurs of relief replacing gasps of shock. Kyle set the girl down. She fearfully adjusted her weight. The moment made him ponder how fragile life truly was, creating an unexpected but undeniable bond between him and Sarah. "Thank you," he said, a fresh sincerity in his voice. "I appreciate it. You really helped her." Sarah shrugged, brushing off the praise, her heart still racing. "Just doing what anyone would do." But as Kyle stood, ready to express more, a swirl of laughter interrupted. The festivities resumed in fits and starts, but lingering whispers about Sarah's earlier words hung heavier than before. It was a stark reminder that humanity could strip away the layers of wealth and class, revealing a raw connection that transcended. "What you said earlier, it resonated with me," Kyle ventured, uncertain. "I've never really thought about what people like you go through." "I just stop," Sarah interrupted, feeling the remnants of anger simmer beneath her honorable resolve. "You don't have to make this about you. You didn't know my life. You don't have to apologize for every little thing now." Kyle took a deep breath, grounding himself. "I want to understand," he replied earnestly. "Understanding isn't enough," Sarah stated firmly. "It requires action." In that moment, as their dynamic shifted into something else, something deeper, Sarah felt the veil of isolation start to lift. Not entirely, but just enough. Their eyes met again amid the bustling park. The laughter and joy intensified like a backdrop to their unique exchange. Perhaps amidst the clattering plates and laughter, they could forge something better, an understanding that demanded not just acknowledgement but the courage to change. After a moment, she turned to leave. Something had shifted between them, a crack through which hope might finally seep. And just as she thought of her mother waiting at home, the sky began to darken, hinting at the storm of confrontation they both may have to face next. What awaited Sarah and Kyle in the days ahead? Would they truly endeavor to understand one another, or would the weight of their worlds pull them apart once again? Kyle stood motionless, the air around him thick with uncertainty. The joy of the event buzzed faintly in the background, but his mind was still tethered to Sarah's last words. "Understanding isn't enough. It requires action." He ran a hand through his hair, his thoughts racing. Could he? Would he? As the evening sky darkened further, a chill settled in. The chatter of the crowd faded as he watched Sarah slip away, her silhouette diminishing into the throng of people. It was as if she had cast a spell over him, igniting a flame of empathy where there had been none before. For the first time, he felt a deep ache to break free of the doubts and privilege that had cocooned him. "Hey Kyle, are you coming?" A voice pulled him from his reverie. His friend Jess waved him over, her laughter light and carefree. She was surrounded by others who bounced happily between stalls, oblivious to the shifting dynamics that had just unfolded. Quit daydreaming. You're about to miss the pie-eating contest. Kyle nodded absent-mindedly, but his heart wasn't in it. The thought of joining the frivolity felt hollow when something so much more significant loomed just beyond his grasp. Yeah, I'll be right there, he murmured, though his feet remained planted as laughter erupted nearby. He distractedly watched Jess and her friends maneuver toward the contest, their carefree spirits a stark contrast to his turmoil. He thought about Sarah, about courage and action, and a newfound longing began to blossom in his chest. How easy it was to ignore the struggles of others when life was lush with privilege. Suddenly, he knew what he needed to do. With resolve mounting, he glanced back towards the pavilion where he had seen Sarah last. She might be just a whisper away in the midst of the crowd, but she felt impossibly distant. Hey, Kyle, let us go, Jess shouted again, motioning for him to join. Yet he didn't move. Feeling the absence of his earlier bravado, he took a steadying breath, summoning something deeper. Jess, I think I need some time, he said, his voice tinged with seriousness. Time? For what? She asked, confusion furrowing her brow. I need to figure some things out. Are you all right? She stepped closer, concern etching her features. I don't know, but I think I want to help, he replied, the words hanging heavy in the cool evening air. Help in a real way, not just throwing money or excuses. I need to understand life from her perspective. Jess blinked, taken aback. Wow, okay, if you say so. Let us know how it goes. Kyle turned, striding through the bustling crowd towards the nearest exit, seeking the path that would lead him to Sarah. The festivity around him blurred into a sea of colors and noise, his focus narrowing down to one singular goal. With each step, he thought about the girl they had just helped, the way fear had turned to relief in her eyes. He thought of Sarah's strength, her unfaltering spirit weighed down by circumstance yet fiercely hopeful. Just then, the first drops of rain began to patter softly on the pavement. The storm had arrived, shrouding the park in a gentle curtain of water. But he pressed on, driven by the urgency to find Sarah, to break through the invisible wall that had kept them apart. When he finally caught sight of her again, standing under a nearby awning, her expression reflected surprise and something else, curiosity, concern. Sarah, Kyle called, his heart racing, momentarily distracted by the pitter-patter of raindrops and the warmth of his emergence from self-doubt. But would she welcome him back? Would she listen? Just then, as the rain intensified, a blinding flash of lightning illuminated the park, making everyone freeze momentarily. And in that stillness, Kyle realized this was just the beginning of something monumental. Could he truly step into Sarah's world? Or was the distance too great? As everything around him twisted in chaos of rain and uncertainty, he felt the weight of the question hanging heavily, waiting to be answered. Kyle. Sarah stepped forward, eyebrows furrowed. The world around them seemed to dissolve, the rain a mere backdrop to the intensity of the moment. What are you doing here? His heart raced in his chest. I came to find you, to talk. What's there to talk about? She asked, her voice sharp, but her eyes revealed a flicker of curiosity. You've always walked in this world, untouched by the things I deal with daily. What could you possibly understand? Maybe more than you think, he replied, the sincerity in his tone pushing aside the chilly raindrops that clung to him. I realized that I can't just stand by anymore. I want to help, not just with money, but to really understand. You inspired me tonight. A flash of lightning lit up Sarah's face, casting shadows that danced across her features. For a heartbeat, she seemed to soften. You think it's that easy, to just step in and make a difference? Kyle took a step closer, resisting the urge to retreat under the intensity of her gaze. I don't think it will be easy at all. But I can't ignore it anymore. I've been privileged. I know that. But I want to use that privilege to make things different. I can't promise I have the answers, but I want to learn from you. Learn? She echoed, disbelief lacing her voice. You really want to learn? What do you think that looks like? It means hearing the stories of people like you, Kyle urged. Understanding the struggles, the dreams, and how you fight for them daily. I want to be there not to rescue, but to support. As storm clouds rumbled overhead, Sarah's defenses gradually crumbled. The raw need in his eyes was unlike anything she had seen before. It wasn't pity. It felt more like hope. You don't know what you're asking for, she cautioned, her voice softer now. It'll change you. Change is what I need, he admitted, breathless in the downpour, with droplets mingling with the weight of his newfound determination. For a moment, they stood in each other's gaze, caught in a world that was just beginning to turn. Then she took a deep breath, a flicker of something hesitation or acceptance crossing her face. If you want to understand, it's not just about being there. It's about diving into the deep end. Are you ready for that? Yes. The word slipped from him with unwavering clarity. Show me. The storm raged, but in that moment, something thawed between them. The promise of discovery lingered, a radical shift just a whisper away. Okay, Sarah finally replied, her voice steady despite the downpour. But know that the journey is tough. There will be nights when the rain feels endless. You'll see things that will make you question everything you thought you understood about life. I want that, he declared, the excitement bubbling within him. I can't go back to who I was before. Not now. A crack of thunder resonated as they spoke, an agreement sealed in the shared urgency between them. Sarah studied him carefully, gauging his resolve. Then meet me tomorrow, she said, determination in her voice. I'll introduce you to some people whose stories you need to hear. Be ready for a wake-up call. Kyle nodded. The promise of tomorrow felt electric, his heart thrumming with anticipation. I'll be there. As she turned to leave, the rain began to ease, and the darkness in the sky lifted just a fraction. Kyle felt a mix of exhilaration and nerves as he realized they had crossed an unseen threshold. Behind him, people resumed their festivities, oblivious to the transformation that had just been set in motion. But for Kyle, nothing would ever be the same again. For the first time, he was stepping out of his comfort zone and diving into a world of challenges, realities, and, hopefully, profound connection. Tomorrow awaited, and with it, the unknown changes that could redefine their lives forever. Would he be brave enough to confront it all? As Sarah disappeared into the night, Kyle felt an undeniable shift stirring within him. He turned toward the fading lights of the festival, heart racing with both fear and determination. What awaited him just beyond the horizon of that new journey? Kyle woke up the next morning to the soft sound of rain tapping against his window. He could still feel the weight of the night before on his chest. The conversation with Sarah seemed to echo in his mind, each word a drumbeat of resolve. He swung his legs over the side of the bed, took a deep breath, and pushed himself to stand. There was something different about today. Everything felt charged, electric. He dressed quickly, the usual distractions of his comfortable life falling away as he imagined what lay ahead. His heart raced, a cocktail of anxiety and excitement swirling within him. He was about to step into a world fraught with stories that could either break him or make him stronger. Arriving at the designated meeting spot, a small cafe tucked away from the festival's lingering excitement, Kyle glanced around, searching for Sarah. The air was heavy with the rich scent of coffee and pastries, yet it felt foreign to him now. Each table filled with chatter only amplified his anticipation. A few minutes passed before he spotted Sarah entering, shaking off droplets of leftover rain, her expression a mix of determination and softness. Today, she looked completely at ease in her skin, her aura strong yet inviting. When their eyes met, a sense of steadiness washed over him. Ready? She asked, her voice filled with a locked-in confidence that he admired. I am, he replied, and the clarity in those words felt unexpectedly firm. They sat at a small round table, the busy world outside fading into a blur as Sarah began to speak about her community. With each word, she painted vivid images of lives that had unfolded in the shadow of the city's glimmering skyline. Stories of resilience, heartbreak, and celebration poured out of her. Then she paused, looking directly into his eyes. You have to understand, Kyle, people here don't just struggle. They fight like hell every day to survive. It's brutal and beautiful, What can I do? He questioned, genuinely curious. How do I help when I don't even know what they're going through? Her expression shifted to one of understanding. That's the key. Sit with them. Just listen. Don't try to fix anything right away. Share meals, stories, laughter. You're not here to save anyone, Kyle. Just be a part of their lives. He nodded, feeling the enormity of her words settle into his chest. He wanted to connect, to make real and lasting change. But as the morning unfolded, anxiety crept in. What if he couldn't handle what he learned? Is there a specific story you want to share? He asked, wanting to dive deeper. Sarah hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. There's a woman I know, Maria. She has been through more than most. Her story is heart-wrenching. Curiosity mixed with trepidation ignited within him. What happened? She lost her home, faced abuse, but she still holds on to hope. She is rebuilding her life brick by brick. You'll see her strength, Kyle, and it'll change you. Kyle's heart raced at the thought of meeting someone who had fought such incredible battles. Where do I find her? Follow me, she said, rising from her chair. As they stepped out into the city, the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating a path ahead. Kyle felt the thrill of the unknown, each step heavy with the promise of discovery. But just before they crossed the street, Sarah suddenly turned, her eyes intense. You need to be ready for what you find. It's not just about understanding, it's about feeling, about connecting with their pain and joy. I can handle it, he assured her, but inside, doubt fluttered like a trapped bird. As they walked side by side, a nagging thought haunted him. Would he have the strength to face all that lay ahead? What would his heart endure as they peeled back the layers of a world he had purposefully ignored? And as they approached the shelter where Maria lived, Kyle couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the edge of a precipice, about to leap into something that could irrevocably change him. Could he truly be ready for this? The shelter loomed before them, an unadorned brick building that seemed to absorb the light around it. Kyle's stomach twisted with a mix of fear and anticipation. He thought back to Sarah's warning, her words echoing in his head like a mantra. He inhaled deeply, hoping it would steady him. They entered through the double doors, a soft ding announcing their arrival. Inside, the silence was profound, a stark contrast to the outside world. The air was thick with the scent of something warm, perhaps soup, mixing with another smell he couldn't quite place. As his eyes adjusted, he noticed a few worn couches scattered around a common area, each occupied by people whose faces told stories of their own. Sarah led him toward a small room at the back, sunlight streaming through the windows, illuminating a collection of mismatched chairs. In one sat Maria, her hair pulled back into a tight bun, a pair of glasses perched on her nose as she read a well-loved book. When she looked up, her warm brown eyes sparkled with a kindness that instantly eased Kyle's nerves. Maria, this is Kyle, Sarah introduced him gently. He is here to meet you. Maria set the book aside, a smile breaking across her face. Welcome, Kyle. I've heard a bit about you. Her voice was soothing, like a river flowing gently over smooth stones. Thank you for meeting with me, he managed, his throat suddenly dry. Of course. I love sharing my story, she said, nodding encouragingly. Grab a chair. As Kyle settled in, Sarah took a seat beside him, her presence a steady anchor. Maria leaned forward slightly, her expression shifting to something more serious. My life hasn't always looked like this. I once had a home, a family, dreams. All of it shattered. Her voice quivered, but there was a strength in it, and Kyle couldn't look away. They tell you losing a home is just a place. But it's not. It's your security, your memories. When I lost that, I lost myself too. A lump formed in Kyle's throat. He could see the truth etched in her features, felt the weight of her sorrow. Instead of retreating, he leaned in closer, captivated. How did you find your way back? Maria chuckled softly, a sound that was both light and heavy at the same time. It's a process, Kyle. Little by little, I learned to lean on my community, share my burdens. That's what kept me going, people lifting me when I couldn't stand. Kyle's heart ached for her. Each word struck a chord, resonating with something deep inside him. "And now?" he asked, genuinely curious. "What do you hold on to now?" "Hope," she replied, her voice steady. "Hope is stubborn. It won't leave you if you keep feeding it. I'm rebuilding my life, piece by piece, and every day is a fight worth having." As she spoke, Kyle's chest felt heavier. He thought of his own life, the comfort he had taken for granted. "What's the hardest part?" he asked, wanting to understand more. "Letting go," Maria said simply. "Letting go of the past while still honoring what it meant. But you have to keep moving forward. Otherwise, the pain is all you see." A silence enveloped the room, charged with her words. Kyle felt a shift within him, a light breaking through the cloud of ignorance he had lived in. What if he could share this? What if he could carry the stories of resilience into the lives of others? Just as he began to formulate an answer, a sudden noise pierced the silence. The door swung open, and a voice cut through the moment, demanding attention. "Maria, we need you out here. Things are getting tense." Maria's face tightened for a moment. Kyle felt the shift, a palpable anxiety filling the room. "What's happening?" Sarah's voice was steady, but Kyle could sense the tension. With dread pooling in his stomach, Kyle braced himself. He had stepped into a world of struggle and light, but now it felt like that world was about to test them. Would he be prepared for what was unfolding before him? Would the hope Maria had fought for survive the storm brewing outside? The moment hung in the air. Kyle's heart raced again, and he wondered if this was just the beginning of something far bigger than he bargained for. Kyle's heart pounded loudly in his ears as he exchanged concerned glances with Maria and Sarah. The gravity in the room felt like an anchor pulling him down, and he wanted to ask what was happening, but the words became tangled in his throat. Maria stood up abruptly, her expression shifting from calm to fierce determination. "I'll be right back," she said, turning towards the door. Her words hung in the air, but there was no way to prepare for what came next. As she walked past the threshold, Kyle felt a rush of conflicting emotions: fear, curiosity, a growing desire to help. He shifted in his seat, the once welcoming warmth of the room now feeling like it was stifling him. "What do you think is going on?" Kyle asked Sarah, his voice barely above a whisper. He noticed how her eyes were glued to the door, worry etched across her face. "I don't know, but it's not good," she replied, glancing at him. "Let South just stay close and be ready." A minute felt like an eternity, enveloped in uncertainty. The tension outside seemed to echo inside him, a stirring dread that suggested change was imminent. Suddenly, a cacophony of voices shot through the door as Maria stepped outside. Kyle strained to listen, his heart racing. Someone shouted angrily, and another voice yelled out in what sounded like panic. "What's happening out there?" Kyle asked, his palms clammy and sweating against the fabric of the chair. "Just a little misunderstanding," Sarah said, but her voice lacked conviction. Kyle wanted to burst through the door, to see for himself, but his legs felt heavy. A part of him wondered if he was even ready to face the reality of the world outside these walls, especially after what Maria had just shared with him. "Keep your head down, Kyle," Sarah urged softly. "Whatever it is, you don't have to face it yet. Just let Maria handle it." But the urgency in her voice did nothing to calm him. Just then, Maria re-entered the room, her face a mix of determination and frustration. The confidence she had radiated moments ago seemed to crumble as she stepped back into the sunlight-filled space. "It's getting intense out there, but we can manage it," she declared, pushing her hair back from her face. "A few people got into an argument about something minor, but it could snowball. We need everyone to participate in de-escalating things." Kyle felt the gravity of her words, the weight pressing down on him. "What can I do?" he found himself asking before he could talk himself out of it. Her eyes softened, surprised by his eagerness. "You want to be part of this?" "I want to help," he insisted, surprising even himself. Something in him had shifted. This was no longer just an observation. He needed to be involved. "I appreciate that," Maria said with a nod. "Stay close to Sarah. We'll be in the midst of it together." Just then, the door swung open again, and a disheveled man stumbled in. his face flushed with anger. "You don't know what it's like. You think you can just talk us down?" he yelled, his voice slicing through the air like glass. Kyle's throat tightened. Instinctually, he felt the need to defend this shelter, the safe space that had opened up new worlds for him just moments ago. But would he be able to stand up in the face of conflict, in front of someone so lost in their rage? The emotions churned within him. His heart raced against the fear and uncertainty as the man continued to lash out. "Give him a moment," Sarah murmured, glancing at Kyle. "Remember Maria's words. Don't let the pain overwhelm you." In that instant, he understood. This was his moment, his chance to use the hope Maria had kindled in him. Could he find it in himself to be brave? Kyle dared to take a step forward, fueled not just by anxiety but by an inexplicable fire inside him. "Listen," Kyle interjected softly, his heart pounding in his ears. "I know it feels like everything is falling apart, but if we listen, if we talk, maybe we can find a way through this together." The man froze, the anger shifting to confusion. Kyle held his breath, waiting for a reaction. Would the storm begin to calm? Or was this a turning point for something darker ahead? The silence felt electric, and in that pause, everything hung in the balance. The man blinked rapidly, his face contorting as he processed Kyle's words. The anger that had been so palpable moments ago wavered. For a heartbeat, it felt like the world outside had fallen silent, as if everyone was holding their breath, waiting for what would come next. Kyle took a cautious step closer, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on his shoulders. "I know you're hurting," he continued, his voice steady. "We all are. But shouting isn't going to fix things. Let us just talk it out, let us find a way to really understand each other." The man swayed slightly, uncertainty flickering across his features. "What's there to talk about?" His voice had lost some of its venom but still dripped with bitterness. "You don't know what it's like to lose everything." Kyle's heart ached for him. He had no idea the depth of this man's pain, but he could see it written in the shadows behind his eyes. "You're right," he replied softly. "I can't know exactly what you're going through, but what I do know is that we can't move forward if we don't open up. We need each other to get through this." A flicker of hesitation danced across the disheveled man's face, and Kyle could sense the shift. Hope began to bloom in his chest, fragile but persistent. "I think your voice matters here. Please share what you're feeling. Let us work on this together." Around them, the room grew quiet as everyone paused, drawn in by the unexpected sincerity in Kyle's plea. Maria stepped closer, her posture shifting to one of support instead of authority. "Yes, right. We're all struggling here, but we can find strength in each other." The man clenched his jaw, visibly grappling with his emotions. Then, as if a dam had broken, his shoulders slumped and he began to speak. "I lost my job, my home. I thought I had friends." But now his voice broke, and suddenly he seemed smaller, just a man facing overwhelming loss. "Feels like I'm on my own." Kyle felt a tug at his heart. "You're not alone. Look around," he urged, sweeping his hand toward Maria and Sarah, and the rest of the community gathered there. "We're all here because we care. We're all facing struggles." The man's eyes darted around the room, catching the glimmer of understanding and compassion reflected in the faces around him. For the first time, there was a flicker of vulnerability breaking through the anger. The air shifted again, filled with something stronger than rage, an emerging connection. "Can we talk about this?" he asked, his voice quieter now, almost pleading. "Absolutely." Kyle felt the rush of relief, the knot in his stomach loosening. Something had shifted, and at that moment Kyle understood the beauty of what could happen when he chose to be brave in the face of chaos. His heart was racing not just from fear, but from the raw courage swelling inside him as conversation began to flow. The voices around him converged, a blend of pain, hope, and understanding. Kyle could feel as the walls that had separated them began to crack. It was a small moment, but it felt monumental, and in the midst of it all, Kyle caught a glimpse of Maria, her expression a mix of pride and encouragement. He smiled back, realizing that this was just the beginning. But just as they began to find common ground, a loud bang echoed from outside, breaking their fragile truce. What was that? Sarah gasped, her eyes widening with fear. Kyle's stomach dropped. This moment of hope could be at risk. What new challenge awaited them outside? He stepped back to join Maria and Sarah, his resolve hardening as he prepared for what was next. Stay together, Maria commanded, her voice rising above the confusion. But in his heart, doubt crept in. Would they be able to hold on to the progress they had made when something darker loomed just beyond the door? The echo of the bang sent a ripple of unease through the room. It was as if the air had thickened, wrapping around them like an unwelcome shroud. Kyle felt a knot tighten in his chest as he glanced at Maria. Her eyes were steely, yet he could sense the flicker of uncertainty beneath her calm exterior. What was that? He whispered, his breath barely rising above the rising tension. Maria took a step forward, her face resolute. I don't know, but we need to check. We can't let fear dictate our actions. With a deep breath, Kyle nodded, trying to muster all the courage he could find within himself. The man who had just begun to share his pain stood frozen, still grappling with the upheaval of emotions. You don't have to do this, he murmured, his voice shaky. No, we do, Kyle replied, his own conviction growing. We need to see what's going on out there. We've just started to understand each other, we can't let this moment slip away. Maria motioned for them to follow as she cautiously moved toward the door. The atmosphere was thick with tension, the air crackling with uncertainty. As they approached the exit, Kyle could hear faint shouts mingling with the chaos outside. He exchanged a glance with Sarah, whose eyes were wide with fear. Be ready for anything, she urged, and there was a gravity in her tone that sent chills down Kyle's spine as the door swung open. A wave of noise crashed into the room. The street was alive with chaos and commotion. People were rushing past, some shouting, others crying out in distress. The scene felt surreal, like a nightmare they could not wake from. Get inside. A voice rang out from the crowd. It was a man, his face pale with panic. They're coming. Kyle's heart raced. Who's coming? He shouted, but the man was already gone, swept away by the tide of fear. Behind him, the man who had lost everything stood rooted to the spot. He was caught between his past anguish and the undeniable sense of urgency gripping the present moment. Kyle turned to him. We can't let this keep us apart. Stay with us. The man's eyes flickered with indecision, but as another loud noise, a shattering glass crashed from somewhere near, he took a tentative step forward. What can we do? We need to find those in trouble and help them, Kyle asserted, taking charge of the moment. That's how we keep what we've started alive. As they surged outside into the chaos, Kyle felt a mix of adrenaline and determination course through him. Each step they took seemed to echo against the fears that once governed their lives. They moved together, each person lending strength to the others. Suddenly, amid the confusion, Kyle caught sight of a small boy, crying on the ground, lost amongst the throngs of panic. Hey! Kyle shouted, raising his hand. We need to help him. Without a second thought, he rushed toward the boy, a surge of protectiveness flooding his veins. Would they find the courage to face whatever was coming? What awaited them in this storm of fear? And could their newfound bond withstand the challenges ahead? As Kyle raced toward the boy, panic gripped his heart. The world swirled around him, chaos overtaking what had begun as a day ripe with hope. The boy's tears cut through the noise, a piercing reminder of innocence amidst turmoil. It's okay, buddy, Kyle called, kneeling beside him, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. I'm here. We're going to get you home. But the boy, no older than 6, glanced around wide-eyed, lost in a whirlwind of havoc. I can't find my mom, he cried, the simplicity of his plea sinking into Kyle like a stone. Just then, Sarah appeared, her face a mask of determination as she rushed to his side. We'll find her together, she promised, and the softness in her voice felt like a blanket against the chaos. What's your name? Danny, he whispered, clutching at Kyle's shirt like a lifeline. Okay, Danny, Kyle said, finding strength in the boy's need. Stay with me. With that, they pushed through the crowd, Sarah keeping a protective arm around Danny, while Kyle searched frantically for a familiar figure. But as loss filled the air like smoke, something in him ignited. This was about more than confronting danger, it was about forging connections, about humanity standing tall against fear. "Is your mom at the cafe?" he asked, catching glimpses of startled faces as they moved through the throng. Danny nodded, tears still cascading from his cheeks. Kyle felt a swell of determination as they surged forward together. "Hold my hand," Sarah urged. Danny took her hand, and Kyle grasped the other, feeling the warmth of their unity. Together, they wove through the chaos. Around them, voices raised in anger faded to whispers of concern. The distant sounds of sirens became a backdrop to unity. Kyle's heart raced not from fear, but from purpose. Suddenly, they reached the cafe, the only gleaming sanctuary amid shadows. In a moment of clarity, Kyle pushed open the door, the bell chiming bright against the din outside. "Have you seen Danny's mom?" he called into the bustling cafe, eyes scanning the faces. A woman, frazzled but fierce, turned. "Danny!" she cried, her face breaking into relief. Within moments, the boy was in her arms, her embrace a fortress against the world's chaos. Kyle took a breath, feeling something in his heart unfurl, something that began with tears of joy. He glanced over at Sarah, who was smiling through the tension. "We did it," she said, her voice barely above a murmur. And then it hit him, this moment wasn't just about rescuing one boy. It was about a community exemplifying strength and connection in the face of turmoil. The values they often forgot in the presence of privilege were shining through now. Every person mattered, and together they could rise. Just then, the disheveled man from earlier stepped into the cafe. His expression transformed from anger to desperation. "Please, help," he pleaded, his voice cracking. Together, Kyle nodded to Sarah, determination flashing in his gaze. "We've got this." As voices began to blend again, hope stitched the air together. Sarah moved toward the man. "What's wrong?" "My sister, she's trapped in her apartment. The building's shaken down." Distraught, he looked around, eyes searching for help. "We'll get her out," Kyle assured, standing taller. "Let us go." With a surge of courage, they swarmed out of the cafe, a collective force fueled by hope and urgency. He rushed toward the building. A fire ignited in their hearts, a flame that had only started to spark with Maria and Sarah's stories of courage. This was not just a battle but a beginning, a call to stand and fight for one another, one person at a time. The storm still roared around them, the clouds swirling in chaos, but Kyle felt the intensity of humanity's strength rising in that moment. They ran side by side, willing to face anything together, unwavering. As they reached the building, he shouted to the oncoming clouds, "No more silence. No more fear. We're here for each other." And in that moment, as he glanced at Sarah, the light of understanding in her eyes reflected his own. It was a moment that stretched beyond the storm, beyond the chaos, a moment of pure, unwavering connection. They were ready to dive into whatever awaited. It was a leap of faith into a new, united journey, one filled with stories that needed to be told and hearts ready to heal. This was the moment to embrace the change, to take the road less traveled together. So, a new chapter began in Maplewood, where empathy was born anew from courage, where kindness found its voice amidst the noise, and where the power of togetherness shone brighter than any storm. You need to subscribe now to catch the next wave of hope and change. Leave a like now to keep the lights on for stories that matter. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this transformation, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the strength in community and connection. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the power of unity.